the public health oath of Tulane University. As public health professionals, our journey does not stop today.
Health is a human right.
Our role is to promote and protect this right for all, locally, domestically, and internationally.
Let us use our education and experience in pursuit of diversity, health equity, and optimal well-being throughout the world.
As lifelong learners and fierce advocates, we will monitor determinants of disease to investigate the public's health.
We will facilitate the self-empowerment of all communities,
as they are the experts of their experiences.
We will rely on rigorous research to inform our decisions and actions.
We will use data-driven methods to quantify health as we collaborate within interdisciplinary teams.
We will evolve our understanding of the interconnected risk between people and their holistic environments.
And we will use our knowledge and experience to propel health equity,
expand access to care,
and enhance policies to improve systems that affect people's lives.
With this oath,
we dedicate ourselves
to uphold these affirmations
as we serve on the front lines
of public health.
Do you remember August 26th, 2019? A presidential administration ago, a pandemic ago, a master's degree ago. Do you remember terms like quarantine, flattening the curve, and inequitable global vaccine distribution existing only as abstract or antiquated examples in our courses? Well, class of 2021, we picked a hell of a time to study public health. I remember August 26th, 2019. It was a Monday, the first day of classes. I remember blue skies one minute and knee-high water on Canal Street the next. I remember texting the few people whose numbers I had, asking what we should do, who was in charge, when the water would recede. Would someone come get us? Were buses, Ubers, the Uptown Shuttle even running? When no one texted back, I stopped silently panicking and started observing the members of our vertical campus community. Second years, professors, facility workers. I saw them hike up their skirts, take off their fancy leather loafers, and charge out into the water towards cars they hoped weren't flooded. That was the first time New Orleans taught me that the only way through is through. I believe that lesson has been imparted to Tulane SPHTM, and by extension, our staff, faculty, and peers. Do you remember October 12th, 2019, when just about a block from Tidewater, the Hard Rock Hotel collapsed? Often in New Orleans, we see failures in infrastructure, gaps in care for vulnerable populations, and we wonder, whose job is it to attend to this? Is it anybody's? Often, just yards from Tidewater, we see folks having mental health crises, we see drug use, violence, but no longer can we wonder whose job it is to address these issues or care for these people. It's our job. It's our job now not only to identify social structural drivers of inequality, but to work to dismantle them. Our education has given us the tools to do this. Now, I know you remember mid-March 2020 and every moment of uncertainty, terror, and more recently, triumph since then. How incredibly fortunate are we to have had the opportunity to belong to this community during this time. The COVID-19 crisis may have scattered us, and not everyone has been able to return to this city, our beloved hotspot. But through Zoom University and the incredible leadership of Dean Leviste, we have been on the front lines, fighting and evolving and serving as an example for all SPHTM classes to follow. Do you remember summer 2020, when we took to the streets to protest the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many more? Do you remember the reckonings of racial inequality that occurred within our university, our school, our student orgs, ourselves? Through the brief but eventful time since we began our degrees, we have seen our nation suffer from opportunistic racism and disproportionate effects of disasters and pandemics on vulnerable populations. We, by nature of being the class of 2021, are uniquely armed with the tools to combat racism, inequality, and fear-mongering. We know the determinants these factors have on the health of populations on every level of the social economic model. And now, we, the class of 2021, vow to carry these principles forward. Whether we are epidemiologists, hospital administrators, or whatever those of us who studied international health and development end up being, we have learned that public health is community health. Public health is love. Public health is hard work, but in my opinion, it is the work most worth doing. Only a few of you were lucky enough to be born in New Orleans, but all of us did a lot of growing up here in the last 2 years. As we go forth, let us not forget the transformative events of fall 2019, spring 2020, summer 2020, or today. Let's not forget that the only way through is through. Let us not forget we can recover and rebuild stronger than ever. New Orleans has taught us that. She is the expert after all.
Students, families, faculty, and friends, my name is Lilly Edelstein, and I am so honored to speak to you today on this remarkable occasion. As I stand here physically distanced from the rest of you days before the actual ceremony, I recognize that this is not the graduation we had envisioned. It is critical that at times like this, we put our own struggles into perspective and remember the millions around the globe who suffered over the past year, who lost jobs, abandoned dreams, and mourned loved ones. Maybe I'm talking about you right now, and if I am, I commend you for reaching this point. It could not have been easy. It has not been easy for any of us. So I want to thank my fellow students and Tulane as a whole for acting as a family and as a safety net for me, not only over the last trying 12 months, but over the past 2.5 years. I say 2.5 and not 4 years because I'm a transfer student. I believe that being a transfer student has provided me with a unique appreciation for the Tulane experience, because I know what it's like to not feel welcome in one's own school, to not feel that sense of belonging, camaraderie, and academic stimulation that one expects in college. After 3 long semesters in such an environment, I transferred to Tulane and finally found my people, specifically the wonderful humans in the Tulane School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine. Never before had I encountered a group of such passionate individuals. I kid you not, I have stayed up until 2 in the morning discussing topics like the Broad Street pump with my friends in public health. For those of you who have taken an epidemiology course, you know about the Broad Street pump. For those of you who aren't familiar, allow me to explain. In 1854, London suffered from a terrible cholera outbreak. A man named John Snow, who is now referred to as the father of epidemiology, mapped cases of disease throughout the city and found the source of the epidemic to be the Broad Street water pump. His discovery eventually led to the removal of the pump's handle, which effectively stifled the spread of cholera in the city. My Tulane education has taught me that, despite the historical significance of this event, sometimes there is no pump handle to remove, no simple solution to the scientifically complex and often politicized problems of our world. Although we may not always appreciate it, as Tulane graduates, we have acquired the necessary skills and knowledge to begin addressing these complex issues, and we have the privilege of being at the forefront of change. It's funny that change itself is often not recognized in those who are not directly involved in the change-making process. A man named Jeffrey Rose once said, "Grateful patients are few in preventive medicine, where success is marked by a non-event." As students of public health, this message has been instilled in us since day one. We in public health are not motivated by promises of praise or applause. We are here because we see some failure of the system, some injustice, some problem that requires solving. So you may not hear this at any point throughout your careers, but I want to say thank you. Thank you for having the courage to pursue your passions and for attempting to solve the unsolvable. And lastly, thank you for listening and congratulations.